Which authorities do you still believe in? Not by name necessarily, but by category. What authorities do you believe in? I don't know who to believe in myself. My dog. I believe in my dog. I don't believe in the church. I don't believe in the synagogue. I believe in the Bible up to a certain point. But even there, I can get very cynical some nights, and I just shake my head. I said, I can't believe it. All they were trying to do was control the wild men of their time. I mean, them ancient Israelites were out of control. These were tough dudes, olive growers. They slaughtered anybody who looked at them the wrong way. They were from the old world. It was, an eye for an eye, tooth for tooth. So the rabbi comes along and he says, God is looking at you. Don't you dare sleep with your brother. Because if you do, you're going to be stricken by lightning. I guess a lot of them were sleeping with their cousins and brothers and uncles because, man, it's in the Bible. You got to think about it. I mean, why did they write those prohibitions in? Some of them made sense from a health point of view. In the old days, there was no refrigeration, so you didn't eat pork because there was trichinosis. Okay, you could understand that. But the reason they condemned homosexuality in the Bible is because a lot of the guys were doing it and figured if they were going to die out as a people if that went on. Oh, God, so they did that. And the women can't do it either with a mortar and a pestle. That has to end. We got to knock that out because if we have that, then they're not going to have babies and stay at home with a carriage. And so they wrote it in order to make sure the society went on. But you have to look at it from the point of view of the ancients. It's because people were doing it, just as they're doing it now. Why did they do it? They did it because, I don't know, it was less complicated. They went out and tended sheep, and they figured all they're going to do is get home and get a woman complaining to them. What the heck, let's get it over with here. That way I don't have to bother. Whatever. So the old guy said, look, if this keeps up, we're going to die out as a people, so you better tell them that God's... So we're not going to do this anymore. And so they made it like a crime if you didn't. But there's a bigger story to it, which is this. There are many impulses that man has that have to be suppressed or repressed in order for the society to survive at all, let alone flourish. In other words, it's not that the impulse in this direction, in particular homosexuality, I want to talk about it for a minute, is such an evil impulse. It isn't. Nor is it such a odd impulse, because it isn't. It's a rather common impulse, and it's not that evil when you think about it. And the reason society has to condemn it is because if it doesn't condemn it, society ceases to go forward. Because the men are just going to not have babies. That's all there is to it. See, that's one of the reasons. It's not that it's evil or that's unusual. There's a reason to repress certain impulses, and that's for the betterment of society. But since we no longer care about society, we care only about ourselves, we care only about our impulses, we care only about what feels good, we care only about the moment, we care only about how it feels. We don't care about these things anymore. So society says, all right, since nobody cares about anybody, let's do what we want and forget about it. Let it all go to you-know-where. That's basically Michael Savage's view of biblical prohibitions against certain impulses. Now it gets more complicated when it comes to not eating reptiles or flying animals with certain hooves and whatnot. It's very hard to figure that one out. I can understand the pig because of trichinosis. I'm talking cynically now. Make believe this is a character of me, not me, okay? You know, I go into characters like Scungili. All right, so make believe. And now I'm Michael the Cynic. I'm cynically looking at the Bible. God doesn't mind because he's in charge anyway. What does he care what I say? He's saying, oh, God's going to get mad. He's mad at me anyway for all of my whole life. So let him be a little bit more mad, okay? But the point I'm making is this. He don't care if you question him. Mother Teresa herself questioned God her whole life, according to the last memoirs. Every day she asked, why am I living so miserably? Why am I not having sex on Sunset Boulevard in a nightclub, in other words? I don't mean exactly that. But she asked herself, why am I suffering so much? I don't see God anyway. He doesn't write. He doesn't call. I pray day and night. I do the beads, and I still don't see him. What's the point of all this, she said, the old lady in her old years. Questioned every minute, questioned, wondered, fetched, complained. I'm a spinster. I have nothing to show for it. Not even a Cadillac Cimarron from 1982, nothing. All I do is tend to the poor and the lepers. What kind of horrible life did I choose? All right, you better hope to God that there's a reward, man, because if there isn't, she sure wasted her time, man. She could have been having a good time in Hollywood. She could have made a name for herself in talk radio, no doubt. So now I'm committing blasphemy on the show to some of the audience. Now they're shocked. No, I'm not going to go to a break. We're not doing the interview. I don't want to hear it anymore. I really don't want to hear any more about trials and Islamists. I'm so out of patience with it all. I'd rather drift into my own reveries in my own cynical fashion about various things. So if you'd like me to use my cynical viewpoint on any topic, give me a call at 1-800-449-8255. Probably lost 90% of my P1 audience just now. Now it's over now. Ooh, you dared question the Bible. You dared question Mother Teresa. Yes, I dared question the Bible and Mother Teresa. What do you want me to do? There are days I question myself, my existence, your existence. Why shouldn't I do that? Study illuminates star explosion from 16th century. That's interesting. Science and technology. I love science and technology, being trained in one of the fields or two of them, and spent so many years in that world till I realized it was so political I just couldn't take it. But the reason I went into the science is because I felt that it was the only place to find the real truth. I knew politics was full of questions and almost no answers, and it was all lies and all delusion and illusion. You know, you look back on Linus Pauling, one of the great scientists. He was once my hero, and he wrote the reason he went into chemistry is because it was the only area he felt he could find the truth in. In other words, an element is an element is an element. You can't fudge it. Either it's gold or it's copper or it's zinc or it's mercury. You follow what I'm saying? In other words, you can prove that you are looking at copper or gold or zinc, etc. And so he loved chemistry because it was as close to the real truth of anything that he could get to. And that's what appealed to me about science to begin with, is it was the ultimate, let's say the closest you can get to the truth was through science, deductive, inductive reasoning. But then as I went along, I found out it was just like most other fields. It was already becoming highly politicized in the 70s. In other words, which topics got grants depended upon the politics of the day. Then when the ethnic thing came in and suddenly everybody wanted to do studies on African American health. And suddenly there was tons of money for African American health studies. You know, that hypertension was not actually caused by sodium, and eating a diet rich in sodium was caused by something else. I mean, everything became political. There's nothing you could do that wasn't touched by the political world. And so I decided, you know what? It's not right for me. I can't take it anymore. So here I sit many years later in in a phase of my life that I never thought I would see. I never thought I'd be this old. I never thought I'd get here to this point in my life. And I'm basically sharing my thoughts with you and analyzing things with you. And if my answers please you, then ask me some questions by calling 1-800-449-8255. I want to now go to some of the stories I have up on michaelsavage.com because, well, I can gull you into going to my website that way, and you might buy some books. It'll really change my lifestyle. In other words, if you bought 100 more books today than I would have bought otherwise, it's going to change the way I live. I'll buy another Frankfurter tomorrow. But the fact of the matter is there are some good stories. Questions linger about death of Israeli activist. Death elevator shows signs of struggles. It's a very important piece of evidence. O'Reilly shows true colors, joins with Kennedy's. Is he another McCain? Very important story when you see that this man is actually showing himself to be what he is. Moscow mayor links gays to spread of AIDS. I'll let that lie where it is. Barack Obama's Rainbow Coalition, minorities, women fill top posts. If only women and minorities. If only appointing women and minorities could save America, I'd be a very happy man. Does it necessarily make them better because they're women and minorities? Does it make them better because they're multi-ethnic? Does it make them better? Lawyer slain by S&M madman obsessed with victim's whip mistress girlfriend. That's not a bad story. An attorney at one of New York City's most prestigious law firms who had a secret passion for S&M was shot to death by a rival for the affections of a brilliant Ivy League stunner who moonlights as a dominatrix. Where did this all come from, a dominatrix? When did that come up in America, dominatrix? I mean, I could say a few words about it. When I was a kid, we didn't need to go to a dominatrix. All we had to do was argue with our mothers. I'll be right back.
Need more info about someone you heard on Armstrong and Getty? Check out their page at 910knew.com.
So I went into a new character tonight accidentally. I didn't do Dr. Unsavage. I did Cynical Savage on the Bible, just to show you that I do sometimes, get into these moods. I mean, even Moses questioned the God in the Bible, so forgive me if I drift into it once in a while. But then we got into the dominatrix issue. I don't understand that part of it. I truly don't understand it, because any heterosexual woman today over the age of 25 who grew up in America is basically a dominatrix. You ask any heterosexual guy, within a short period of time, what do you think it's going to last? 90 days. After that, you're living with a dominatrix anyway, so what's the difference? Why do they have to go to a professional? What does a professional dominatrix do that an ordinary woman doesn't do in America today? Half the women look like post-op transvestites to begin with, trying to look like they're gay or keeping up with the mores of the society. You ever see what they look like? They thin themselves down. They're on some kind of diet pill. The lipstick looks like it was applied by, what's her name? Joan Rivers when she was high.